My name's Sonu Lamba, and today we are making a vegan zucchini soup. Now, the origins of this recipe is from Sicily. Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea, and it's actually the largest island in Italy. In Italy, this soup is made with a gourd that is called cucozza. And in North America, our equivalent is zucchini. So we will be using zucchini. You can Google the original one, which is cucozza, which is a gourd. And this recipe has been inspired by this dish. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce some of the ingredients for my zucchini soup. So we have some extra virgin olive oil. I have some fresh cracked black pepper, some salt. I have 3 cloves of garlic right here. Just crush it in a mortar and pestle. Half a teaspoon of red chili flakes. I have half a cup of fresh Italian flat leaf parsley. I have 4 organic zucchinis. And nowadays you can find zucchini anywhere. It is quite plentiful. Zucchini grows from June all the way till August. So there's a huge growing season for zucchini. I have some fresh basil. This is hydroponic basil. And then finally, I have some vegetable stock. So this is a vegetable bouillon cubes, and I'm going to reconstitute this with some boiling hot water. And then the last ingredient I have is some strained tomatoes. This is an Italian product. I love Pomi. It has 1 ingredient only, and that ingredient is just organic tomatoes. There's no fillers, there's no preservatives. It's wonderful. And these tomatoes are sweet. Thanks. So we're actually going to start by chopping up our zucchini into half a centimeter thick piece. And so there's 4 zucchinis. So I'm going to get started. So I'm just removing the top piece and then just the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and give it a chop. And so we're actually going to fry this zucchini up first. So pieces like this, little rings. And I like to fry my zucchini first because it gives it this final really golden yellow color in the end. And its texture is wonderful if I fry it first. Sometimes if I cook it all together, it just doesn't, the zucchini doesn't really break down, and it's hard and not so wonderful. So I'm going to continue chopping my zucchini. Great. 2 more to go. Now, while I'm chopping this, I'm actually going to get my stove going. So I'm going to take 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, which you can cook with. You just don't want to put the stove on high heat. So mine will be a medium heat. I'm going to wait for it to get a little bit hot, and then I'll go ahead and put 3 tablespoons in there. Okay, last one. The wonderful thing about this dish is that it can actually be eaten as a meal. I like to serve it with warm, crusty bread, and you can just dip the bread in the soup, and it's like this one-pot meal of goodness, and it's healthy, and it's filling, and it's just wonderful. Okay, so there's my zucchini. I'm going to go ahead and put my extra virgin olive oil. I'm using about 3 tablespoons. Okay. Okay, and in goes my zucchini. You'll start to hear a sizzle. And put the zucchini in very carefully. So the zucchini, it may seem like a lot of zucchini, but this actually needs to, this is the heart of the dish, and we tend to use a fair bit because it's the main ingredient in this recipe. And I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on. And this is going to cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. This is medium heat, so medium-low heat. So our onion and our garlic is actually going to go next. So chop this as fine as you can. This is a soup, so the finer the onion in the end, we don't want little pieces of onion coming in anyone's mouth. So try to get it as fine as you can. And this soup is really popular even with kids. It's really flavorful with bread. It's delicious. You could add pasta to it if your kids are into pasta. Spaghetti noodle would work just fine. Okay, so this onion is ready to go. So I'm going to give this just a couple more minutes. And I'm going to flip my zucchini just once. And then after that, it's done. I'm going to go ahead and put it in this bowl. And then I'm going to start sauteing my onions and the rest of the ingredients. And I'll add the zucchini back after the onions and garlic are in. Okay, and this is going to cook for just a few more minutes. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do in the meantime now is I'm going to get my basil ready. I'm going to take all this basil. So you need about 1 bushel of basil, maybe 20 to 25 leaves. I'm just going to tear it up just like this. It doesn't have to be too fine. Try not to tear it up too fine because basil tends to get really dark when it's crushed. So this is good for me. And we're actually going to be using half a cup of strained tomatoes. So I'm going to get that ready right now too. Wonderful. Okay, and let's check on our zucchini. Okay, and it actually needs a few more minutes. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get my broth ready. So I'm going to take my 2 bouillon cubes. I'm going to go ahead and put them in a heat-resistant container, and it may take some extra time for that zucchini to cook. It just depends on how high that heat was. Great, and the water's done. Woohoo! So I'm going to take about 4 cups of hot water. I'm going to go ahead and add it to my broth, to my bouillon cubes. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's perfect. And you'll notice that the bouillon cubes will start to break down. You can agitate it a little bit, just like that, and they will just dissolve in that hot water. And this actually smells really good. And believe it or not, this bouillon cube, it's only got parsley, it's got maize, it's got carrots, some onions, and some yeast. There's no artificial flavor enhancers, and so I really like it. Okay. Okay, so my zucchini is done. I'm going to go ahead and take it out carefully. and you can see that a lot of it has these wonderful brown, yellow, golden marks on it. And so this will make the final dish look just wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside. And I'm going to go ahead and put my onion and garlic in here. Okay, and in goes my garlic. And I'm going to give this a stir. And I'm going to add a little bit more extra virgin olive oil, another 2 tablespoons. And we're going to let this mesh. And maybe in about 5 to 7 minutes, in goes the zucchini again, and then we're going to add our basil to this. Now, if you don't like spice, you can omit the red chili flakes. Our family loves spice, so I add just half a teaspoon. And my kids are totally fine with half a teaspoon. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add my red chili flakes next. So in goes the red chili flakes, just like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my zucchini back in here. So zucchini goes back. And so the zucchini is going to continue to cook. So if all of them don't have that nice yellow color, it's fine. It's going to basically wilt down. Now, next, I'm going to layer some stuff. So in goes my basil. So basil is next. And this basil just really perfumes the final dish. It gives it this wonderful color and flavor. And definitely use fresh basil. I don't recommend the dried basil. So here's half a cup of my Italian flat leaf parsley. In it goes. A lot of greens going into this dish. Going to give that a stir. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt and pepper to this. So I like using Himalayan pink sea salt. Now, your vegetable bouillon cubes already have a little bit of salt, so just put a teeny bit right now. And some fresh cracked pepper. Can't go wrong with black pepper. Great. Okay, next to this, I'm going to go ahead and add my vegetable broth. So this is 4 cups of vegetable broth. And finally, for the color, I'm going to go ahead and add my strained tomatoes. And give that a stir. And now this has to cook on low heat for about 40 minutes. So I'm going to put the lid back on. I'm going to wait for it to come to a boil. After it boils, I'm going to simmer it for 40 minutes. Perfect timing. So how do we know when our soup is done? I'm going to show you. So if you take a look in my pot here, my soup volume has reduced by half. You know, you could actually call this a stew. You can see the zucchini, it's got this orange, red, yellow hue to it. The way you know it's done is you take your spoon and you can take any piece of zucchini and, you know, in less than a second, you should be able to cut it in half. If there's any resistance, it is not done and it needs to cook further. So for me, this is done. All the pieces of zucchini are nice and tender and I can go ahead and plate this. Yay, the best part. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some zucchini, a little bit of everything in my bowl. And you can see the wilted leaves of parsley and basil, which is gonna help contribute to that wonderful flavor. And if you use a really good tomato sauce or strained tomatoes, it'll contribute to this wonderful color. I mean, this looks delicious. Perfect timing. Time for the best part. We get to taste it. So I'm gonna go ahead and try a little bit of the zucchini, a little bit of the broth. And you can see that it's nice and thick. This is so wonderful. The texture on the zucchini, it still has a very definitive body. It's soft, but not overcooked. You can taste the basil, the parsley. I can taste the chili flakes. And the tomato sauce and the extra virgin olive oil and that broth, it just pulls this dish together so well. This is wonderful if you have zucchini on hand. If you don't, it's worth going to the grocery store, getting that organic zucchini and making this dish. And I like to serve it with some bread. I like to dip some bread in here. This is wonderful. Please try this out for your family, for your friends. You can entertain with this. This is phenomenal. You're gonna love it. You gotta try this vegan zucchini soup.